This is a new hymn that we've written over these last few weeks about times of suffering, and particularly the trials and struggles that we continue to carry with us. And it's very much a prayer, sort of the voicing of the hymn, a prayer for perseverance, a prayer to keep following the Lord and to keep looking ahead to the hope that is surely coming. And I know, Bryan, it was you that brought it to us. You began the song.
Yeah, I had been just going through a couple different sermon series on Romans 8, and it's kind of like the peak pinnacle moment of one of the greatest books of the Bible to me, and there's such an emphasis on what lies ahead for the life of the believer, the future glory that just completely outweighs any momentary suffering that we could experience. And that feels, it's just hard sometimes to believe that when you're feeling the weight of the thing that you're dealing with personally. And I know for all of us, we've had things in our cities that have been going on, things in our families that have been going on, and so it just felt important to write from that perspective and give language to just some of the prayers that you would be praying naturally, I think, through those times. And I love that the chorus of this song, the refrain, God of every grace, you're almost able to see everything that you're going through in life as a grace and view it as a gift, because it will serve you in the end. It will ultimately lead to a glory that would have not otherwise been there. And I think that's a key thing that this song is able to bring to the church, which is great. But yeah, I love how it turned out. And Boswell, I love how you kind of, remember we were talking about that First Peter text and you were like, how about this? And it just came together. Yeah.
Well, the hardest part about writing any kind of hymn of lament is not dismissing the hope we have in Christ in the middle of it. You know, Psalms scholars, in talking about the Psalms, which teach us to lament so many times, is one, calling upon God, which this song begins there. Spreading our burdens before Him, asking Him to change things, but then that final movement, continuing to trust and continuing to see God as worthy of praise in the midst of trial and suffering and sorrow. That's why we need one another, to keep singing to each other things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And expands the view, even just the very first line, oh, let not this world of sorrows, gives you a sense that there is this world, and it finishes with, but there is another. There's a deeper, greater reality. Yeah. And so in our suffering, it often pushes us inward. And hopefully this song will help people join together and express a hope which helps us look outward and upward, so that we can keep going, because I think that's so much. There's obviously big events, and you talked about a little bit, the Nashville shooting, Dallas shooting, these things which are big things that dramatically shift our lives and change, and we have to wrestle with them. And while the media drops the story, the realities of them continue on. We and families closer to these tragedies have to continue living with the realities of these day after day, that continuing carrying of this weight. And so needing to find songs, needing to find community, needing to remind ourselves always of this hope just becomes so critical, so that we can keep going.
There's a sort of pastoral tone to the whole thing. When, like, through the lyrics, there's enough comforts scattered throughout that keep the song really shepherding lyrically, and then the melody just goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. It was Bryan came up with the original melody, and then you guys worked a little bit on that really chorus. The chorus to me almost has an old folk song, almost Fanny Crosby kind of just lovely sensibility about it. But one of the great things simple folk tunes have done from the history of time is they express heart sorrow in a way that's beautiful. So my only contribution was really just to simplify the melody a little bit, make it feel a little bit more like a folk song or a folk hymn, so that people could pick it up. You can sing it in your home on your guitar to someone who's sad and going through tragedy. You can sing it in your family. You can sing it whatever size your church is, just a guitar or just a piano or a band, or even like a folk hymn. It could actually work with a more formal church as well. But a song that actually allows all of us to express the grief. And I remember the first time I heard you guys do it, and the first time I ever sang the third verse, I just couldn't cope. I was so overwhelmed with emotions, and I live with hymns all the time. But the third verse, to me, just grabbed me in a way nothing had. And we'd been living, our girls go to school 700 yards from Covenant School, where the Nashville shooting was recently, and just knowing some of my own friends and their suffering at the minute. It's just such an extraordinary, powerful, and important thing to sing.
Especially that idea of all your children home together, and that sense of there are, in this life, children, people that we say goodbye to that are missing from our tables as we gather. But just the great joy that will not always be so, that one day God will bring all his children home and we'll be together forever. Just those couple lines meant so much to try to express.
And our worship services shouldn't be an escape from that. Our worship services should be setting us into that and showing Christ's grace, as hard as it is to possibly understand, but showing that to be just so beautiful and so sufficient and so, just carrying us through those moments.
I've watched my aunt and uncle, who my cousin passed away from cancer nearly 15 years ago, around that time, and just watching them and their journey, how hard it has been, the rawness of it, the living with the weight of grief, and trying to navigate a new life as a result of this, and see both of them walking the path of faith, and just the sheer excitement and anticipation of going to heaven and being reunited with Lindsay and all their children, home together. It
gives you a confidence and such a comfort. I think the lyric, the roadmap of the song, it brings you, it's like that phrase, everything sad is coming untrue. Like it just feels like that's kind of like all of that glory is just unraveling gradually all along the way, and there's hard, difficult steps to get there, but it is happening. It is happening gradually,
Oh, praise the God of every grace.